Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Mom Show. It is Dr. D, mom of three. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited for those who are viewing on the YouTube channel and Facebook, but also for those who are listening on the podcast. This is episode 8. Woo woo! We have made it to our 2-month anniversary, and we're still going strong. And of course, today I have a super special guest, which I can't wait to talk about her and for you to hear from her because she's just so amazing. But before we delve into that, I hope everybody is staying safe and following all the recommendations because those COVID numbers are going up. Don't forget, if you've missed any previous episodes of the Dr. Mom Show, check that out so you can know my dream and goal for educating you and giving you some life hacks as parents. And then, of course, I always have to let you know that the Dr. Mom Show is a medical informational resource. It does not take the place of your physician or your child's physician. So please make sure you are getting your medical advice from your own doctor or your child's doctor. Well, back to my wonderful guest today. My beautiful guest is so special. And she's not only special, but she's awesome and amazing. Firstly, she's awesome because she has an amazing story that we have the honor of her sharing with us because I know for a fact it is going to impact you. And after you finish listening to this or viewing this, your life's definitely going to be changed and you're going to come out of here with some awesome nuggets. And then the other reason she's even more special is because she is the first Dr. Mom Show podcast guest. Whoop, whoop. So I hope it does air and everything goes smoothly. We all said a little prayer prior to it, but either way, I know it's going to be wonderful and you're going to learn so much from her. So would you please help me give a warm welcome to Kaleen Marshall. Woo! Welcome, Kaleen.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, Kaleen, today we're so excited to have you on. She is not only the founder and CEO of the Viaggio Group, which is a professional coaching and consulting firm where she helps individuals fulfill their full purpose and potential in life. I mean, who doesn't need help with that? We all need help in fulfilling our purpose and potential in life. She also, on top of that, has started a nonprofit organization called Bella Viaggio, which helps supports adults with special needs in addition to their families and caregivers. So essentially, she's helping these families through major life transitions, which is something that is so needed. Now, she's not only doing all of the above. Because here's the point. On the Dr. Mom Show, we're superheroes. You know what I'm saying? There's superheroes here. So she's not doing all of this, but she has also published her story entitled Who Will Love Me, where she shares her personal experience with about her sister and her life who has Down syndrome. And what a better guest to have on the show today, because if you were not aware, this month, the month of October, is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. So see, you can get better educated and also hear her story. And of course, on top of all of that, this is the Dr. Mom Show. She is a mother of 2 adult sons. So her kids have lived and are adults. So she's also an awesome mama. So she is a superhero written all over her. So welcome, Kaleen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Daleen. This is awesome to be here. I'm like, wow, great. I kind of feel good about myself now.
You should. You're doing amazing things, and it's such an honor to have you on. So before we get into our topics, I have so many questions for you. Tell us more about yourself and also your consulting group.
Yeah, so I live in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. We've lived here.
Chicago!
We love it here. And I've been married for 32 years to a wonderful man, the kindest man on earth. He's amazing, Wally. Aww. I do have 2 amazing boys. One is married, has been married for 2 years. And then I had a recent engagement of my youngest son.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so that's fun. That's always fun for a mom. So we're having a blast. Yeah, so about my business, I help people move forward on their journey in life. I love helping women who are stuck, that are in their about 50s, that maybe their kids have transitioned out of the house and they're like, what do I do now with my life? And I have many clients that want to either start a business or just start exploring what's next for them. So that I love that. I work with CEOs as well, leaders. That's fun. I do have a niche though, for families with children, teens, or adults with special needs, to help them transition because of my story. And I know that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. And I love that you are helping women who are, you said 50s and above, because again, I mean, I feel as women in general, and especially moms, we always put our own dreams and aspirations on the back burner. We're so good at doing that.
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of women end up really pursuing their bigger dreams when they're older, after they've taken care of their kids, make sure their kids are all good. In your situation, one of your sons engaged now. Um, so I love that you're targeting those women. I think that's fantastic, because I feel a lot of times it's easy for us as we get older to give up on our dreams. That people say, oh, I'm 55 now. Why would I ever do this or get another degree? So I think that's great, because even when I was in medical school, there were people in my class who were either had a full-fledged profession or career, and then came back to study to be a doctor. So these people were either in their 40s or 50s. Yeah. So I think that's awesome that you're coaching and helping people, because, not to be on the other side, but since you are in your 50s, you really want to get with somebody who's a good mentor.
Yeah.
Because you're not 20 anymore, where you're like, I can just willy-nilly for about 5 years and then do whatever. So I think that's so important that you're doing that, so people don't waste time. They can really hit the ground running with you.
Well, and I think your life is just beginning in your 50s. So,
yes, I agree.
And I tell ladies, you're not dead yet.
That's right.
You're not dead yet. Keep living. Keep living. So it's exciting to me. Most of the women that I've worked with have started businesses, and it's just fun for me to watch it. So yeah,
I'm sure. And I agree with you, because you guys, if you go on, I don't know, Celebrity or something, I feel people, actors and stuff, because that's probably the where we have the most access to people's pictures. But you look at actors and actresses, and I feel in their 40s and 50s is when they really look good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because, usually their kids are a little older. They probably don't have as much stress. At that point, I feel you usually don't care what other people are saying about you. You're like, whatever, I wear what I want and I do what I want. So I feel you're so right about that age, that yes, it is a time where it's almost like a new beginning, a fresh start. At that time. Well,
I
good.
agree. It's more about, for me, it's like, I don't really care what other people think anymore. I care about the people who I know, love, and trust me, and what they're going to say to me and mentor me in. But the rest of everybody else, I just want to keep moving forward.
I love it. And that's right. That's how you do keep moving forward, is just you kind of block everybody else out who's putting any negativity in there.
Yeah.
Well, good. So as I mentioned before, Kaleen's younger sister of 4 years, she was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And I really want Kaleen to share her story, because her story is just so special and just so amazing. So I'm going to give her the floor so she can share her story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. In 1967 is when Carrie was born. I was born in 1963, so do the math. I'm 57. Carrie
and you look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I feel great. Carrie was born with Down syndrome, and she was born with 3 holes in her heart, which was very odd for Down syndrome at the time. Most are born with 1 hole. She was born with 3. So at that time in the 60s, there was no social works. There's Gigi's Playhouse today, which is a phenomenal organization that help with Downs, but there was really nothing for my mom and dad. So the doctors, Carrie was in the hospital for 5 weeks. And to this day, my mom and dad have said they often wonder if the doctors would have hoped that she would have just passed away. So she came home after 5 weeks. She was born at 5 pounds, 3 ounces. And she came home, and my mom worked nights, my dad worked days, and then my parents had a nanny for us to get us up in the morning. So my mom, and get us off to school, so my mom could work with Carrie. So my mom would come home from school or come home from work and learn, teach Carrie how to eat, because she had the protruding tongue, which there was no, occupational therapy for her at all. So my mom and dad really worked hard with her. I can remember we taught her how to sit up in a cardboard box. But every time the social worker came over to tell us what Carrie couldn't do, we thought, you know what, we're going to show her what she can do. So
I
every
love
time
that.
that she's not going to sit up, my brother and I sat her in a cardboard box, just the same size as she was, with her legs straight out, and we just helped her balance with the edges of the box. And then we took a razor blade and took the sides of the boxes down. And then when the social worker came over, we said, guess what? She's sitting up. And we took that box and we showed her. So it was almost like, we're going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So, grew up with Carrie, not with a lot of help, but I had parents that were very, very strong in helping her, which is both good and bad. Growing up, a lot of attention was given to Carrie, of course. When I was in college at 20 years old, my mom called me and said, hey, Carrie has been put on a list to have the heart surgery. And she would have been the first in the country to have a heart surgery for 3 holes in her heart. And the risk was way too high. So we opted out of that at the time. So Carrie was never supposed to live until past, they thought 14, they were just giving these ages. Well, today she's outlived my mom and dad.
Wow.
And she's 53 years old. And
she's a miracle, baby.
She's a miracle. And I have goosebumps right now. When I take her to the heart doctor here, every time she walks in, she just looks at me and she goes, keep giving her her vitamins. Do exactly what you're doing. Love her. And she goes, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
She's doing great. She goes, there's really nothing we can do other than do what you do.
Yeah.
So she's just a walking miracle. People love her. She's adorable. Yeah. So she's changed many lives. She's a life changer. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
Well, I love it. And just for those of you who don't know what Down syndrome is, and I'm assuming the majority of people know what Down syndrome is, but just to give you some facts about it. So Down syndrome is the most common chromosome abnormality among infants. That's insane. That should really shock you, because there are a lot of chromosomal abnormalities. The one thing is, if babies are born with abnormalities in their chromosomes, a lot of them pass away. So that's where miscarriages and things come in, or stillbirths come in. But this just goes to show you what an extensive population we have. And as Kaleen shares her story, that's why I feel it was so important to help her share what she does. It's because of the statistics of just how many people with Down syndrome there are, and what in need of resources, and knowing what resources are out there for you. And essentially with Down syndrome, it's the 21st chromosome that is affected. So you may also hear it called trisomy 21, and that's just because there's 3 chromosomes. There's an extra chromosome. So each set of chromosomes is supposed to be 2, one from mommy, one from daddy. That's what we get. But they have an extra chromosome at 21. And normally, at least the good thing now with technology is that Down syndrome can be diagnosed prenatally. So that's just when the baby is in the womb. Of course, sometimes if a baby has mild symptoms, the numbers may not read as high, or if the doctors can't pick up on an ultrasound, if there is a heart defect or anything like that, there may be intermittently, but very, very few cases where a baby is born with Down syndrome that they didn't pick up prenatally. And now these individuals have very distinct facial features. So usually low set ears, a flat nasal bridge. A lot of times you heard Kaleen talk about the protruding tongue. Usually they have a larger tongue, so it sticks out of their mouth. So you can see that. They also have heart issues. I'll talk a little bit more about the comorbidities a little later. It's different levels of intellectual disabilities, and some of them are very high functioning. They can take care of themselves, they can have a job, and that's what's so interesting. And again, another reason why I love what Kaleen does is because it gives individuals with Down syndrome to really, again, reach their maximum potential, because a lot of people in society, once somebody has any sort of disability or anything, people are like, oh, like it's almost like you have to be treated in not a special way, but hey, like maybe you can't do that, just like you were saying, the therapist and stuff, the social worker was saying. Like, I love that about your family, that whatever she was telling you, you guys didn't let her speak that into her life. You guys spoke the complete opposite. And that just goes to show you how powerful our mindset is, that you shouldn't listen to what other people are saying if it's negative. And you never know unless you try. Their family would have never known what she was capable of if they did not try that. So I really love that. So, Kaleen, I know your story and what's happened. So I want you to tell us, how you became. Kaleen is now her sister's caregiver. So I want you to tell us and the audience about how that went about.
Yeah. So in 2005, my dad passed away. So, well, let me back up. I come from a family that everybody passed away from 95 years old to 100. So we weren't used to people dying in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, that's
70s.
good genes.
Yeah, very good genes with no medications. So my dad one day couldn't get out of bed, and he was eventually diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome, and he actually passed away in 2005 of an infection in his stomach. It wasn't from the myelodysplastic syndrome, but it was from an infection because he couldn't fight it. So that was in 2005. And then in 2011, shortly after 2005, my mom asked if we would consider moving to Arizona and taking on the care of Carrie. And my mom, they had a small guest house behind their house, and she would live in the guest house, and we would live in the main house with Carrie. Now, part of my story is I've never wanted to fully take care of Carrie. I always felt that Carrie would be better in a community with adults, or I wanted my parents to do better planning with her and at least talk about it. And growing up in the age that I grew up in, you didn't talk about it. So that's part of what I want to get out, is to help people to begin talking about their story and having really hard conversations with the caregiver or the potential caregivers of families. So my mom called in 2011, and there was, my mom was angry at us from 2005 to 2011, and she didn't talk to us during that time. She wouldn't pick up the phone. She was mad because she felt like we had abandoned her. 2011, the phone rang, and it was Carrie, or it was my mom, saying that she was sick and that she had stage 1 breast cancer, and that we needed to come and take care of all the planning for Carrie. So I said, let me call you back. I hadn't heard from her for 5 years. And it was a very difficult 2-minute conversation. So my husband and I called her back and said, we will fly out in January, which was January 2012, and we'll talk about this and kind of assess the situation. So we flew to Arizona. And when we got to my parents' house, the whole entire front yard was overgrown. I looked in the backyard. The pool was green, wasn't taken care of. And when I went in the house, Carrie greeted us at the door, and she was extremely thin. So I took her to the bathroom where there was a scale and weighed her. And she's normally about 100 pounds, and she was at 67 pounds.
Wow.
And I knew something was wrong. And I opened the refrigerator because in our house, I grew up in a home that you kind of were defined by the food in your refrigerator. And I saw a lot of mold in the refrigerator. So I saw my mom in the living room, went and asked her, I said, what's going on? And she said, and her arm was extremely large, as big as my leg. And she said, that's a spider bite. And I said, that's not a spider bite. And I go, when's your doctor's appointment? She said, tomorrow I have a radiation appointment. So I took her to that appointment the next day. Wally said, I've got the yard. I'm going to call the pool people. I'm going to take care of all this. You go and take care of your mom. So my mom couldn't even walk into the appointment. I had to get a wheelchair, got her into the radiation appointment, and she had told me the doctor was on vacation. So I walked out, and I'm pretty tenacious. I walked out, and I just said, I need to talk to Dr. Grotti, because I noticed on my mom's medication on the pill bottles, it said Dr. Grotti. So I just guessed. I said, I want to talk to Dr. Grotti. And this woman turned to me and she said, who are you? And I said, I'm Shirley Wolf's daughter. And I don't know what's going on. And she said, I've been wanting to call you, but because of HIPAA, I haven't been able to call you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want her chart. So I did the illegal thing. I walked behind the counter and got her chart because I knew she was dying and I needed to get to it. So she just let me. I went into a room and read the chart, and in November of 2011, she was given 30 days to live.
Wow.
So that just turned us, that trauma just moves you forward.
It does.
In a healthy and unhealthy way. So I got my mom home and we met with, her lawyer the next day, did a few legal things. But I knew I was going to have to take a leave of absence to come back and spend time. So came back to Illinois, took a leave of absence from my job, and flew back on February 1st, took full guardian of my sister on February 8th, and that needed to be in place. And that's really important for families to have guardianship in place. Otherwise, they can become the ward of the state, or the next of kin will get the person. So there's lots of legalities to it. And so I signed guardianship on February 8th. My mom was already in hospice when we did that. And on February 10th, the morning of February 10th, my mom passed away. Aww. So my life at that moment changed, knowing I was going to take care of her forever. And the last words my mom said at the bed, and she was looking at my sister. She looked at my sister the whole time because of the deep love and, just who they are together was amazing. And she looked at my sister and she goes, who is going to love you like I did?
Oh.
So that's why I titled the book the way I titled it.
Yeah.
Who's going to love me? So she passed away, and I ended up moving to Arizona until the end of the year to take care of my sister, understand transitioning with her, understanding everything about her, from what she ate to her structure to the things that bothered her. I lived there with her for 8 months. Then we moved her to Illinois. But what I didn't know in that process when we moved her was that Arizona was in the top 5 of taking care of the disabled, with all of the benefits and home-based services and lots of different things. And when I moved her to Illinois, I lost all of that. And Illinois was 40 of 50 states that took care of the disabled. So there was no funding for her when I moved her in our home. So that just moved me forward again to start fighting for that. So I learned a lot through funding. And what I didn't know, so there's always these wonderful blessings in this. I was told if I moved her, you're not going to find a doctor as good as the doctor in Arizona that she had seen. Well, in Illinois, the Down syndrome clinic is here. It's one of its kind. It's in Park Ridge, Illinois. It services over 5,000 adults with Down syndrome. And I was walking down a street having coffee, and I ran into this lady that had her daughter who had Down syndrome. And I said, where do you take her to the doctor? And she said, oh, to the Park Ridge Down syndrome clinic in Park Ridge. And I was like, where's that? Nobody even told me. So with that, I got hooked up to the finest doctors with Carrie. And actually moving here has been better for her. My mom didn't want her to move. Being here has been better for her in so many different ways. So the Down syndrome clinic, we are hooked up with the heart doctors of a wonderful hospital that's connected to the Down syndrome clinic that are very familiar with Carrie's condition. So it has been an amazing, hard, and good beautiful story for us that has transformed our lives.
And I love that story. I mean, you said so many things that I want to touch on because you said such great things. But again, to go back to Down syndrome, and just to give you an idea, if you aren't a caregiver of somebody with special needs or Down syndrome, it is a lot. It's a lot, because even just with Down syndrome, some of the comorbidities Kaleen talked about, the heart issues, they can have heart issues, stomach issues, thyroid issues.
Yeah.
They're at higher risk of spinal cord injury, vision issues, autoimmune disorders. They're at higher risk of Alzheimer's. Ooh, we lost Kaleen for a minute here.
I'm here.
Here we go. So that care is just so important, and that's why the resources, and knowing what resources you have, because there are resources out there. Number one, you just have to find them. And then the other thing is, you have individuals like Kaleen who have learned from what they've done and are utilizing it to help others who are caregivers of individuals with special needs. And that I just appreciate so much, because it's hard. You know, I can't stand that. That's one thing that I can't stand, when I'm like, hey, nobody told me that, or I didn't know about that, or you're going around everything the hard way when there was a way easier way to do it. Well, that brings me to your nonprofit, Bella Viaggio.
Yes.
How does that work? What kind of resources does that help people with?
Yes. So I began a nonprofit. So in this time, Carrie moved in. I started my business, and I started writing my book. And people were coming to me and saying, you need to write your book. You need to tell your story to get it out, to help families with special needs to transition. So that's the whole point behind my book. And then in that, I started a nonprofit, and the nonprofit holds my book. But the nonprofit, essentially, the goal of the nonprofit is to help parents transition, or caregivers transition their adult with special needs. So not just with Down syndrome, with anybody. When I speak a lot to parent support groups. When I stand up and speak, I start out with a question. What keeps you up at night? What is the one thing that keeps you up at night? And without a doubt, they say unanimously, what's going to happen to my child when I die? And it was my mom's same concern, and my dad's same concern. What's going to happen to my child when I die? So that's the goal of the nonprofit. But with that, the bigger goal of the nonprofit, of course, is for me to speak at parent support groups and to get out into in the arena of special needs. And the goal is to help build communities around the country to help with a housing shortage for.
Oh, we lost you. We lost Kaleen for a minute. Let's see.
Are you there?
There you go. Yep. I can't see you.
I'm here. And I can't see
well, go ahead. Keep talking. You were talking about the housing shortage.
Yeah. So the housing shortage with special needs, there's 11 million families, and I've done research on this. There's 11 million families in our country that have adults with special needs that they're sitting at home. So parents are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, 90s, and their adult child is at home. So the adult child's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and the adult is doing absolutely nothing but sitting at home. So I want to provide spaces for the child to be able to live in a community, in a healthy community that's fun and sustainable, and give places for people so the caregiver will not be concerned when they pass away of what's going to happen to that adult child. So I want parents, actually my desire is for parents that have young kids with special needs to begin thinking about it and talking about it and planning for it. So the goal is to have homes around the country along with workshops to help them. And we have some models that we've been looking at that we are pretty close at being able to get started on this whole project. So we're excited about that. But that's the goal.
Yeah, and that is exciting, because just going back to resources are so important. because again, you mentioned the Down syndrome clinic here where I am in St. Louis. There is a Down syndrome clinic. I mean, they provide, what's so nice is if you go to a specialty Down syndrome clinic, you know, it's like getting everything in a little nice box. You're able to find out about all your resources, all the therapies that are needed. And what's been great is because of all these resources and access to therapies, individuals with Down syndrome have been living much longer than in the past because of everything. So that's why it's so important that if you're a caregiver of somebody with special needs, or if you know somebody, that you share this information and you make sure that they're aware that there's resources out there, that there's people like Kaleen out there who's trying to educate others regarding this. So I still can't see you, Kaleen, but
I'm trying.
So I'm gonna talk about Kaleen's book for a little bit. Again, it's entitled "Who Will Love Me?" and it's such a great book. I had such a great time reading it. Chapter 5 was my favorite.
Okay.
And she talks about communication, collaboration, and contingency.
Yeah.
And I love that. As she was speaking, it totally hit me. I was like, see, it's meant to be that. I loved that chapter because she talked about that mom or the caregiver in the park that she saw when they had just moved. If Kaleen didn't communicate, if they didn't collaborate, we don't even know what would have happened, what doctor, you know, they would have gone to, if they would have even heard about resources that were there. So that's why it's so important. Don't be shy about it. If you have somebody with special needs that you're taking care of, there's other people out there. There's caregivers of people with cerebral palsy, again, Down syndrome, other disease processes. So there's people to talk to, and what better way to get a support group and get yourself surrounded by people who are going through the same process or who have been through the process, so it can make your stress level and your journey so much easier. So I want you to tell the audience a little bit about the book and how they can get their copy of your book.
Yeah, so KaleenMarshall.com is where you can go to Amazon. I do encourage people to come to my website, KaleenMarshall.com, only because you can get a signed and autographed copy from Carrie. She has signed all the books. So
I got one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carrie.
Special. It says, "Thank you for reading our story, Carrie Jo Wolf." And then I signed the book as well. But the book was a labor of love. I am not, I don't consider myself a writer, but I had the story. So I had lots of help. But what propelled, I actually put the book on the shelf. I was frustrated. And I'm like, this doesn't matter. I'm just not going to write it. And I put it up on my bookshelf down in my office. And we were having a Christmas party for my sister. She was now in the home. She has moved into a home 15 minutes away. And that's another miracle. That's in the book. Because there's no homes available in Illinois. There's waiting lists and waiting lists and waiting lists. But I just was at a place and somebody mentioned a home. And I wasn't looking for a home. And now she's living in a facility with 125 adults with special needs that are all women. Okay. And she loves it. She loves it. She has a job. She's flourishing. But that's awesome. But what propelled the book forward was at the party, there was a mom that came that I had uninvited all the parents. But she showed up and she sat in our dining room, and about 45 minutes into the party, a volunteer came to me, and our house was packed. We had about 100 plus adults with special needs in our home for Christmas. And we always do this gift exchange, and it's just a fun way, and it's a nice respite for the parents, and we have tons of volunteers. And this woman, I came around the corner, the volunteer got me, I came around the corner, and long story short, the mom was having a heart attack.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my goodness. So we called the paramedics. Now, mind you, we have all these people that we have to now move from the living room. And it's like slow motion moving adults with special needs. And the paramedics came in. She was unconscious. And not responding. They revived her. And she started yelling, "Don't take me. What's going to happen to my son? What's going to happen to my son if I die?" same concern that every
Yes.
other parent has. Same concern. So they took her out, got her in the ambulance. They revived her, took her out in the ambulance, but she ended up passing away on the way to the hospital.
Mm.
So my kids, after the party, I was pretty shaken up. After the party, everybody had left, and my kids said, "Mom, you need to get that book off the shelf and write. And whatever
Yeah.
you need to do, whatever you need to do to finish it. If you need to get help," and I'm all about getting help. So I called a friend of mine and said, "I need you to help me finish this to get it across the finish line." So we finished it in a few months, and it came out in March of 2019. And just yesterday, I got a call from a financial planner asking, he wants to put them in all of his packages that he gives to his clients. So he bought 50 books. So it's just been
Oh, I love that. Watch
yeah,
God. Look at how God works.
yeah, it's been a delight. So it's been
That's awesome.
wonderful. So yeah, it's a book though for any family that has somebody, a loved one with special needs, of how to transition that adult.
And I really like it. And I just want to hone in on, whatever your situation may be, I think the key message is to be prepared, because no matter what, we never know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what the future holds. And yeah, that's whether you have a child with special needs or not. I think any parent's always concerned about what's going to happen to my child. And especially in that case, who is going to take care of my child with
Yeah.
special needs. So that's very, very important. So definitely pick up your copy. I put up Kaleen's website up there that you can grab your copy. And then I'm so excited. We are going to be giving away a free copy that is signed. So definitely make sure. So what you have to do is make sure that you get on Apple Podcasts and leave a review. So anybody who leaves a review from today, the time of the show, until the end of October. So you have until November 1st to get your review up there. Once you get your review up there, and it has to be a positive review. I'm just saying, you always hear me say, I'm sure your mama told you that we don't say things unless they're nice. Once you get your review up there, we'll put you in a random drawing, and then we'll touch base with you. So I'm so excited. So definitely get up there, write your review, so you can get a free copy of Who Will Love Me. Now, finally, Kaleen, I'm so excited that this is getting out there. I know 2020 has been so crazy, but I mean, I'm so blessed because so many things for me have happened, and I know God is still working. He still moves no matter what, pandemic or no pandemic. God has a way of doing his work and making sure what's supposed to be will happen. But what can we expect in 2021?
As far as what's going to happen with
You and what you're doing.
Yeah, so this whole home thing seems to be coming together. People are, we can, anywhere I go, people are looking for housing for their adult child. Safe,
Yes.
fun housing. It's a huge issue. So I have decided to devote the rest of my life to how we're going to do that. And there have been some really cool things in the last, let's say, 8 weeks. The pandemic's been great for me. It has been fabulous.
I love it.
Time to focus on the housing issue.
Yes.
And there's lots of interest. There's a model that we're looking at as far as a programming model of how to develop programming within a home. That's just remarkable. I was able to go visit. It's actually Brookwood Community. I'll put a little plug for them there in Houston, Texas. I actually visited them in February with a friend that has a Down syndrome son, Nancy Binger, and we visited, and it's a remarkable community. It's actually the community that my parents looked at, and I did not know that until right before Mom died. She said, "This is a community I would like Carrie to live in." And Carrie was on a waiting list there, and I did not even know it.
Wow.
So it's come full circle. So I have gone to that community. So some things are coming together, but 2021 is going to be very, very exciting. For me, the pandemic's been fabulous. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned about adaptability.
Yep.
When I hear people say, I just want 2020 to end, I'm like, I don't know if I do.
There's just bigger and better things that are going to happen. I agree with you. It just depends, are you looking at it that the glass is half full or half empty? So awesome. And then I know you guys don't forget again to check out Kaleen on her website, KaleenMarshall.com. Is there any other way that our audience can connect with you, Kaleen?
Yeah, you can just go to my website. On there is my email. You can email me, Kaleen.Marshall@ViaggioGroup.net. But KaleenMarshall.com, you can find me. Facebook, just look up Kaleen Marshall or Kaleen Marshall author. And yeah, you can find me all through Facebook. I'm very, very active on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, Kaleen, it has truly been my pleasure having you here on the Dr. Mom Show, and I'm sure our audience has enjoyed listening to all the amazing nuggets that you've provided. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, your family's story, Carrie's story, and being an advocate for her and families who are caregivers for those with special needs. And then, of course, I also just want to thank you because you are officially a Dr. Mom VIP because you're the first Dr. Mom podcast guest. So you are always welcome on the show.
Thank you.
And finally, of course, thank you all for watching and listening and joining us for the show. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your review on Apple Podcasts to win your copy of Who Will Love Me. Also follow me on Instagram at drmom_show. And if you're a Facebook fanatic, you can also go to the Dr. Mom Show page. And again, don't forget to check out Kaleen Marshall there too. And if you prefer videos, we always have our videos on YouTube and Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And always, always check out what's going on with Dr. Mom and all the wonderful projects that are happening at drdalenemushalak.com. And there is a wonderful Facebook group that I have, Fearless, Flourishing, and Fulfill Females, where there's weekly recipes, encouragement, challenges. So you can always hop on there again because its support is those who you surround yourself with that is so important. So again, remember that life is precious and priceless. You are amazing and you can do anything you put your mind to do because you are a superhero. You just have to have faith over fear. Don't forget to wash your hands, kiss your kids, love your families, and say your prayers good night. Love you guys and God bless. Bye-bye.